Chapter 9: The Woes of Mrs. Weasley. The atmosphere at number 12, Grimmauld Place was electric when Harry and Mr. Weasley returned with the news of Harry's acquittal. Fred, George, and Ginny were doing a kind of war dance to a chant that went, "He got off! He got off! He got off!" "That's enough! Settle down!" shouted Mrs. Weasley. But she was smiling. "Harry, dear, come and have some lunch. You hardly ate breakfast." Ron and Hermione looked immensely relieved, and as Harry sat down to a plate piled high with food, Ron clapped him on the back. "I knew it," he said. "You always get away with stuff." "They were bound to clear you," said Hermione, who had looked positively faint with anxiety when Harry had entered the kitchen and was now holding a shaking hand over her eyes. "There was no case against you, none at all." As Harry recounted the details of the hearing, he noticed the adults exchanging worried glances. "I knew it," said Sirius, thumping the table. "Fudge never plays fair. The fact that they changed the time and place at the last minute. They were trying to wrongfoot you, Harry." Luckily, Dumbledore was there. Harry nodded, but felt a twinge of disappointment. Dumbledore had left without so much as a word to him. He pushed the thought aside and focused on enjoying the celebratory atmosphere. Later that afternoon, as Harry, Ron, and Hermione were discussing their new school books, they heard Mrs. Weasley shouting from downstairs, "WEARENOTRUNNING HIDEFORSTOLENGODS." "I love hearing Mum shouting at someone else," said Fred with a satisfied smile on his face as he opened the door an inch or so to allow Mrs. Weasley's voice to permeate the room better. "It makes such a nice change. COMPLETESPONSIBLE haven't GOTWORWITHOUT DRAGGINGSTOLENSINTOTHE. "The idiots are letting Mundungus Fletcher bring stolen stuff here?" said Hermione, looking startled. "But we're supposed to be at headquarters of the Order of the—" "Shh!" said Harry and Ron together. Ginny came in, looking irritated. "Mum's going ballistic." Apparently, Mundungus tried to sneak in a load of stolen cauldrons. Can't wait for her to find out about Fred and George's giving snack boxes. Just then, they heard footsteps coming up the stairs. "Oh-ho," said Fred, quickly pulling the extendable ear back from under the door. There was a quick scrambling as everyone tried to look busy as Mrs. Weasley entered the room. "I want you all downstairs in the kitchen now, please," she said tensely. "Dinner's ready and your father and Bill have just arrived home." As they filed down to the kitchen, Harry noticed that Mrs. Weasley looked particularly strained. At dinner, the conversation inevitably turned to the hearing and what it meant for the Order's efforts. "I think Dumbledore was right to have Mundungus tailing you, Harry," said Lupin. "If he hadn't been there to report the Dementor attack, we might not have been able to act so quickly." "Yeah, well," said Harry, not entirely convinced. "If he hadn't left to buy some dodgy cauldrons, he might have stopped the Dementors attacking me in the first place." Now," said Sirius placatingly. "Dung's not the most reliable, I'll grant you. But he's loyal to Dumbledore, and that counts for a lot these days." As the meal progressed, Harry noticed Mrs. Weasley becoming increasingly agitated. When Sirius mentioned that Harry wasn't a child and deserved to know what was going on, she exploded. "He's not an adult either," said Mrs. Wesley, the color rising in her cheeks. He's not James Sirius. I'm perfectly clear who he is. Thanks, Molly, said Sirius coldly. I'm not sure you are, said Mrs. Wesley. Sometimes, the way you talk about him, it's as though you think you've got your best friend back. What's wrong with that? Said Harry. What's wrong, Harry, is that you are not your father. However much you might look like him, said Mrs. Wesley, her eyes still boring into Sirius. You are still at school, and adults responsible for you should not forget it. The tension in the room was palpable. Harry felt torn between gratitude for Mrs. Wesley's concern and frustration at being treated like a child. As he looked around at the worried faces of the adults, he realized that the coming year at Hogwarts would be unlike any he had experienced before. The threat of Voldemort loomed larger than ever, and the divisions within the wizarding world were becoming increasingly clear. That night, as he lay in bed listening to Ron's snores, Harry's mind raced with all that had happened. He had been cleared, yes, but at what cost? And what challenges lay ahead? With these uneasy thoughts, he drifted into a fitful sleep, dreaming of long corridors and locked doors. Chapter 10. Luna Lovegood. The last few days at Grimmauld Place flew by in a whirlwind of activity. Hogwarts letters arrived, bringing with them the usual list of required books, and, to everyone's surprise, 2 prefect badges, one for Ron and one for Hermione. I can't believe it, Ron said, staring at his badge in disbelief. Me? A prefect? Harry felt a momentary pang of jealousy, quickly replaced by happiness for his friend. Mrs. Wesley was ecstatic, promising Ron a reward for his achievement. As they packed their trunks for Hogwarts, there was a palpable sense of excitement and nervousness in the air. The night before their departure, Mrs. Wesley organized a small celebration for Ron and Hermione. During the party, Harry found himself in a quiet corner with Sirius. I suppose you're happy to be going back to Hogwarts? Sirius asked, a hint of wistfulness in his voice. Yeah, I am, Harry replied. But I'll miss you. It's been good having you around. Sirius smiled, but there was sadness in his eyes. I wish I could go with you, be there if you need me. But I'm stuck here, useless to the Order, useless to you. That's not true, Harry said fiercely. You're not useless. You're... But before he could finish, Moody's gruff voice interrupted them. Potter, a word. Moody led Harry to a darkened room where a tattered old photo hung on the wall. The original Order of the Phoenix, Moody growled, his magical eye swiveling to fix on Harry, as Moody pointed out the various members in the photo, many of whom had died in the First War against Voldemort. Harry felt a chill run down his spine. This was what they were fighting against, what they were trying to prevent from happening again. The next morning was chaos as everyone rushed to get ready. Madame Moody was insisting on elaborate security measures, much to Mrs. Wesley's frustration. For heaven's sake, Alastor, she snapped as he suggested they wait for extra backup. We're going to miss the train. They finally made it to King's Cross with minutes to spare. As they hurried through the barrier onto platform 9 3/4, Harry caught sight of a large black dog trotting alongside them. Sirius, he hissed, what are you doing here? If someone recognizes you... But Sirius just wagged his tail. His doggy face split in what looked like a grin as the Hogwarts Express pulled out of the station. Harry waved goodbye to the Order members on the platform, his heart heavy with the knowledge of the dangers that lay ahead. In the train, they found most compartments already full. They eventually settled into one occupied by only 2 people, Neville Longbottom and a girl Harry didn't recognize. She had straggly, waist-length, dirty blonde hair, very pale eyebrows, and protuberant eyes that gave her a permanently surprised look. "Hi, Luna," said Ginny. "Is it okay if we take these seats?" The girl nodded, her eyes fixed on Harry. "You're Harry Potter," she said. "Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, a tale of rebellion and revelation." "I know I am," said Harry. Neville chuckled. Harry turned to him and saw that he was holding a strange-looking plant. "Oh, Neville, what's that?" asked Hermione, eyeing the plant warily. "Mimbulus Mimbletonia," he said proudly. "It's really, really rare. I can't wait to show it to Professor Sprout." As they settled in for the journey, Harry found his gaze drawn to Luna, who was now reading a magazine upside down. There was something oddly fascinating about her, even if she did wear what looked like radishes for earrings. The trip to Hogwarts was filled with the usual mix of excitement and apprehension. But this year, there was an added layer of tension as the Scottish countryside rolled by outside the windows. Harry couldn't shake the feeling that this year at Hogwarts would be unlike any other.